Someone was pounding on our front door like they were trying to break it down. It was barely sunrise. Through the window, I saw two men in police uniforms. And behind them, watching like he'd been waiting for this, my HOA president. My wife squeezed my hand hard and whispered, "Don't say a word." That's when I knew. They had no idea whose door they were pounding on. We moved to Oakidge Meadows for peace. Tree-lined streets. Quiet evenings. Lawns so perfect they looked painted on. It felt like the kind of place where nothing bad ever happened. Which should have been my first warning. Sarah liked the quiet. I liked it too, at first. Then we met Greg. Firm handshake. Big smile. Eyes that lingered like he was already building a file on us. "What do you do for work? How long you planning to stay?" But not the way he asked them. At the time, I told myself I was overthinking. Looking back, I wasn't. The issue started with a fence. 6-foot privacy fence. City permits. Completely legal. 3 days later, we got an HOA violation. Fence disrupts neighborhood aesthetics. That afternoon I looked across the street. Greg didn't wave. He just nodded slightly, like he'd been expecting my reaction. After that, the complaints multiplied. Mailbox shade wrong. Trash bins out too early. Porch light too bright. Every notice sounded official, and every one came through Greg. And every time I stepped outside, he was watching. One afternoon Sarah came inside and locked the door quietly. "There's a car parked down the street," she said. "Same one as yesterday." I started to shrug it off. She didn't smile. That night she installed a small camera above the garage. Calm. Careful. "You think this is about the fence?" I asked. She shook her head slightly. The fence just gave him an excuse. Greg began walking past our house over and over, phone raised just a little too often. Then notes appeared. "Some people don't belong here." That's when irritation turned into unease. Sarah didn't look scared. She looked prepared. The night before the pounding, Sarah stood outside making a call. "Yes. Tomorrow morning works. Let them make the first move." Before bed, she checked every lock. Twice. Then she placed something small and metallic on her nightstand. I didn't ask. I wasn't sure I wanted to know. I barely slept. She slept like nothing was coming. The pounding started at 6:12 a.m. "Police! Open the door." Through the glass I saw two uniformed men. And Greg. Smiling. I opened the door with the chain still on. "Yes? We need your wife to step outside." "Now," one officer said. "What kind of questioning?" He didn't answer. Sarah stepped beside me. "Do you have a warrant?" she asked calmly. The officer hesitated. Greg leaned forward. "You don't want to make this harder than it needs to be." Sarah didn't look at him. "Daniel," she said clearly, "call the sheriff's office. Ask for the duty captain." The two officers exchanged a glance. Greg's smile cracked. Sarah stepped outside. "You are impersonating law enforcement," she said evenly. "You are trespassing. And you're making a serious mistake." Greg forced a laugh. "You think you can scare us?" She reached into her jacket and pulled out a badge. Gold. Official. "My name is Sarah Walker," she said. "I am the elected sheriff of this county." I stared at the badge, waiting for someone to laugh. No one did. Sirens echoed in the distance. One fake cop stepped backward. Greg stopped smiling. Real deputies arrived fast. They didn't greet Greg. They detained him. One deputy looked at him and muttered, "You again." Another said, "Same scam. Different town." A neighbor whispered behind me, "Wait, he's not a cop." Sarah showed them the footage. Greg photographing our house. Greg delivering fake notices. Greg threatening us. Piece by piece, the story fell apart around him. He wasn't enforcing rules. He was pushing people out. Deputies carried box after box out of Greg's garage. Fake badges. Stacks of violation letters. A police-style scanner. One officer unplugged a printer. "We'll be testing this." Sarah stood beside me, arms folded. "He thought he was hunting us," she said quietly. "He didn't realize we were building a case." That's when the handcuffs came out. Greg was later released while charges were pending. At the next HOA meeting, he tried one last time. Said we were trouble. Said we were hiding something. Sarah stood, connected her laptop to the projector, and pressed play. Video filled the screen. His fake inspection. His threats. His lies. The room turned on him in seconds. When deputies walked in and cuffed him in front of everyone, no one defended him. Not a single person. The neighborhood changed after that. People apologized. Brought food. Asked questions. The HOA got real oversight. Sarah started teaching safety classes once a month. Most people just see her as the calm woman walking her dog every evening. They don't know the full story. But sometimes, when a car slows down a little too long near our house, I see her watching through the window. Calm. Ready. Because the scariest part wasn't that they came pretending to be police. It's that they had no idea whose door they were knocking on.